The Iliad and the Odyssey emerged in their current form around the second half of the 8th century. Whether there was a person called Homer and whether both works were the same author or authors has been in dispute for whatever 2,000 years. In many ways, it doesn't really matter. The poems have been read and appreciated over the centuries for their deep understanding of human nature, in what the characters say and how they act. However, we can develop a fuller appreciation of the texts if we understand some of their background. The earliest evidence we have of written Greek is Linear B, a syllabic system found in the Mycenaean palaces several hundred years before Homer. The texts we have show that Linear B was used by scribes to record information about produce and animals. With the disappearance of the Mycenaean palaces in around 1200 BC, writing vanished from the Greek world. In an age that could not keep written records, memory was the repository of knowledge and consequently became highly developed. Anthropologists have documented this in studies of pre-literate societies. Stories were performed from memory or through improvisation by expert storytellers and handed down across the generations. The Iliad and the Odyssey emerged towards the end of this long oral tradition. We have evidence for this in the surviving texts of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Within the poems, bards perform and can extemporize tales of gods and heroes accompanying themselves on the lyre. There is evidence within the language itself of a long tradition, with standard elements used repeatedly, as if the poet is drawing on a stock of expressions suited to the rhythm of the poem. For example, the sea is often wine dark, the Achaeans long-haired. We see standard phrases with common scenes, the dawn rising, performance of a sacrifice, launching a ship, or a warrior arming. We also see alternative linguistic forms coexisting alongside each other, some of which suggest older forms have been retained from previous centuries. Tales could be told, retold, and developed as they were handed down through the generations. Writing was reintroduced into Greece in about 750. This time based on an alphabetical system used by one of their trading partners, the Phoenicians. It is probably no coincidence that these two poems date from the earliest period of writing. They come from the Ionian coast, and although they are closely related to the Greek of 5th century Athens, and that we've been learning, you will see significant differences when starting to read Homeric Greek. While we know of other poems based on episodes from the Trojan War from the same period, none of them is anywhere near the length of the Iliad or Odyssey, nor do they show the same sophistication of overall structure or control of pace and shape. It seems likely that the introduction of an accessible system of writing enabled tales to develop on a grander scale, although we are unlikely to know definitively whether they were taken down from an oral storyteller or conceived and written by their creators. I should note that the division of the texts of the Odyssey and the Iliad into the 24 books each was not the work of the original author, of course, and was determined in part by the practical mechanics of what could be conveniently contained on a papyrus scroll.